Sumitra Nandan Pant, we bestow heartfelt gratitude and tribute towards the epitome of truth and humanity, Mahatma Gandhi, whom we all adore as Bapu. Bapu, the leader who walks his talk, the thinker who defends political tolerance and religious pluralism, the man behind several aphorisms like there is enough for everyone's need but not for everyone's greed, the naturalist, the minimalist, the herbalist. He still enjoys the status of most emulated and revered hero of our times. Good morning. I, Dr. Neerja Saraswat, Assistant Professor, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, welcome you all to the webinar on reinventing Gandhi and his thoughts in contemporary India and abroad. The webinar has been organized by Department of Humanities and Social Sciences in collaboration with CACS, SW and Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. I feel exhilarated to share that we have got an astounding response from participants who not only include the students, faculty members, staff members from MNIT, but also from several other states. We heartily welcome our guest speaker for the day, Dr. Avdesh Kumar, and our chief guest, Professor Uday Kumar Yaragatti. We also welcome Professor Manju Singh, Head, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Tarush Chandra, Dean SWAA, Dr. Mushtaq Ahmed, Coordinator UBA, Professor Rajendra Kumar Duchania, Dr. Nidhi Sharma, Dr. Nidhi Bansal, and several other dignitaries who have joined us physically or virtually. Without further ado, I invite Professor Tarush Chandra, Dean SWAA, for an introduction about the webinar. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Neerja. Good morning to all the distinguished guests and members on the dais, of the dais. We have with us today the chief guest, our director, sir, Professor Uday Kumar Yaragatti, sir. And we are also blessed with the august presence of our distinguished speaker, Dr. Avdesh Kumar ji. I feel elated to welcome you all to the webinar on reinventing Gandhi and his thoughts in contemporary India and abroad. The webinar is an attempt to pay heartfelt gratitude and reverence towards the apostle of peace and harmony. The webinar is a joint venture, as Dr. Neerja said, the CACS, that is a society for students at MNIT Jaipur, the Department of Humanities, and the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan going on at MNIT Jaipur. It is also an effort to sensitize the young generation towards the ideology of Gandhi and its relevance in modern context. We have more than 100 participants who have registered, and they have joined us and will be benefited by the words of our chief guest and our guest speaker for the day. I look forward that the Gandhisms, which echoes in the hearts and minds, saying simple living and high thinking, will also inspire the young individuals and the students who will be the citizens of tomorrow and the flag bearers for the country. They will take a lead forward and building up a better nation, a more mentored society, and a more guided way forward. Gandhiji has laid great emphasis upon cleanliness or Swachhata. He used to say, Swachhata hi seva. The motive of recent Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, the biggest cleanliness drive of India under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, has also gone a way forward, and it is no less than a mission which could be recorded in the highest of the records globally. It has put India on a stretcher which will be admired and which is being cherished by not just citizens of the country, but across the globe. Gandhiji and Gandhism are always more than what we know. Gandhiji political contributions offered us independence, but his ideologies enlighten India as well as the world even today. We are fortunate here to have with us our esteemed speaker for the day, as well as our director, Sir Professor Uday Kumar. I also look forward to their mentorship and their guidance, and as we all eagerly wait to listen to our chief guest and speaker, once again, I welcome you all and also the coordinators and the members participants of this event for a wonderful session virtually that we are organizing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we move to the next step of introducing the speaker. So for that, may I take the privilege to request Professor Manju Singh, Head Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, to introduce the speaker of the day. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. I'm delighted to welcome you all. I think I am audible to all.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So this is must to check before speaking. So I'm particularly pleased that Department of Humanities and Social Science, CACS and Unnat Bharat Abhiyan has jointly thought to organize this webinar, which is going to be highly relevant always for everybody. It's my privilege and pleasure, in fact, to introduce today's eminent speaker, Avdesh Ji, for giving us opportunity to hear his view and, in fact, the life experience which he had. Avdesh Ji is from IES batch 1972, an IIT Delhi alumnus, a physicist come electronic engineer, postdoctoral fellow of the Tokyo Institute of Technology, Tokyo, and he was superannuated as Director, Research Department, All India Radio, Doordarshan, New Delhi in 2007. And he has led many designing and commissioning of various TV transmitting projects under Doordarshan network in India. Engaged as professor and various academic positions, he had served many technical institutions as dean and provost also. He is widely published, extensively traveled. He has, like what I will say, the most appropriate qualification to be here, which is very much important to mention, that he has been associated with Vinoba Bhave in his Bhudan and Gramdan Andolan. He was also associated with Dacoit Surrender Initiative by Jayaprakash Ji, and also Gandhi of Japan, Reverend Nitashu Fuji Guruji, and many similar kind of association and the movements. Warm welcome, sir, on behalf of MNIT. We are truly blessed that you are here with us, sharing your experiences. Now, a couple of words about the subject. You and I agree that Gandhiji is a great universal figure. Apart from being the leader of Indian freedom, he was someone who always believed in sustainable means of living and had an extraordinary transparent life. He is like Buddha, who was born in India, but has left the imprint all across the world. There are several reasons in my head that convince me that why Gandhi matters for us always. One of the main reasons was that he gave India and world the mean to resist injustice without violence. It's opposing injustice with satyagraha. Another reason, quickly I will just touch because I don't have time for that. So another reason, he was patriot, not nationalist. He has respect to all languages. One more reason, that he knew very well that it's great deal to learn from other countries. No country is perfect, no one is perfect, including my own country. He has always thought of. One more key reason to remember, that he was a true environmentalist, an icon who believed that unchecked growth and consumerism will take us nowhere, only for the natural disasters. He always ready to change. As renowned economist J.M. Keynes said, when the facts change, I change opinion of mine. So he was throughout his life was very flexible, ready to change, and the whole life was with argument, debate, self-reflection, and self-correction. One more thing, he has a rare knack for making leaders out of followers. He was very good in identifying talent, nurture and develop it, and set it free to grow further on its own. There are many examples like Zakir Hussain and Sarojini Naidu, who was their follower and once become the successful leader. He was absolutely exceptional global figure that continued to be relevant as a smart, sagacious, and focused thinker activist. Now, I will take pause with wishes to follow WMD mode for new normal life, that is, wash your hands, wear face masks, and keep social distance. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your illuminating words. Undoubtedly, Gandhi becomes very prominent in today's agnostic, materialistic, and consumerist society. Thank you so much, ma'am, once again. With this, we now move on to the address of our chief guest, Professor Uday Kumar Yaragatti, and we are so obliged that he could spare time for today's event. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. Over to you for your address.
Good morning, all the fellow Indians and followers of M.K. Gandhi, who is known as Mahatma Gandhi, and India is celebrating his 150th year of birth with full vigor and humanity. Respected Dr. Avdesh Kumarji, a lot of things have been told about you which were really heart-touching, because you have worked at the village level, at the downtrodden level, at the socially, what you call them, the dacoits, diverted people, and who made them to come on streamlines. These are some of the few of the hundreds of thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi. Every person has something in his life, or something has to happen in his life to become different. As an adult, okay, as a childhood, everyone has been learnt about it and been asked to study about Mohandas Karamchandra Gandhi after he became big, because nobody knew him before, or nobody knew him when he was in South Africa also. So he just wanted to lead a family life and earn for his family. And the profession he chosen was a lawyer, barrister. And as he himself has written that he failed in the barristerial profession, because the first time I think his practice was in India, and when he stood up to defend his client, his legs were trembling and he lost the case. Then somehow he thought, okay, let him shift to South Africa again to fight for some of the Indian big businessmen's few things you can read out from Google if you have. And in the process, it was going on. One day he was traveling in a train, you know that story very well. Even though he had the first class ticket with him, the other person, what we call in India as Gore person, he said, you have to get down, I can't sit with you. So the meaning is the Indians were called Black Indians, because that even now also it persists. The South Indians are called Madrasis. I don't have to shy away from telling that. The same situation with the Gore people. Even in India, if you are a Gora, you are a black man or a black skinned. So that incident made him, I mean, he was thrown out of the compartment with his belongings. Then enlightenment, something happened to him. Right? Why such a treatment is being given to me? If that's happening to me, then what about rest of the world? Forget about rest of the world. What is happening back in my India? Before this incident, he was knowing that British were ruling. He was knowing that earlier Mughals had ruled. Everything was known. But this moment changed him. And changed him, it exploded. He became such a massive, enigmatic leader by teaching some of the simple principles. Non-violence. One of the things is non-violence. In his words, what becomes the blunders of the violence, the 7 blunders or 8 blunders, whatever you call, is wealth without work is the first blunder, what he is told. Pleasure without consciousness, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, worship without sacrifice, and the most important is politics without principle. See, the whole life is, he found out, yes, why there is violence in the world, why there is violence or unrest in some of the places. To some extent, yes, that is acceptable. What happens, when the acceptance should be from whole lot. But the non-violence, which was being taught by all the spiritual leaders, or what we call Bhagwan and whatever mystic people earlier to that also, were teaching non-violence only. None of the Mahapurush told you go and kill somebody and hit somebody. It's all non-violence. So the non-violence system is brought into the mainstream by Mahatma Gandhi only. Why did huge personalities like Subhash Chandra Bose, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Acharya Kripalani, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and so many bowed to whatever Mahatma Gandhi told, even though they were much more powerful than Gandhi at that time? So the non-violence attitude of Indians, which is come from Puratan Kal se yahi chalata aa raha hai. When the people become non-violent and when they keep doing their work, they will be the king in that place will be happily living. And to be in specific with India, now to coming to the latest one, because of the Farm Bill, so much agitation is going on without knowing what is it and all. Gandhi called himself as a farmer in 1922 in one of the Allahabad High Court when he has to be registered. He said, I am farmer and weaver. Because what the rest of the world thought as India is a place of princes, which is wrong. India is a place of farmers, and he is the place of farmers. So he thought about the farmers about that time only, which were there already. What are the changes has to be done? Every farmer has to have his piece of land for his earnings. Every farmer should have a good market for whatever the product he grows. 100 years back only, which was snubbed over and again, and all the farmers were exploited. So in the 150th year, looks like our beloved Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, took this active step, thinking or keeping in mind the revolutions and the reverberations given by Mahatma Gandhi ji about the farmers. Because most of the people who talk about Gandhian philosophy and who are in a truth of Mahatma Gandhi, whereas the rural people practice what Mahatma Gandhi said. He gave more emphasis on cotton growth and few other products, but major pressure was given on the growth of cotton, because the processing of the cotton can be done at the village level only. You don't have to come to a huge industry or MNCs and all. So this is like a grassroots growth, grassroots farming. Okay, if you are from a village or your ancestors are cotton growers, you'll know it. The cotton is plucked there only, processed there only, packed and sold to the market. So such are the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi with life and truth. So in this hour of 150th year of celebrations, we have to remember all the good qualities of Mahatma Gandhi, which made him Mahatma, and try to follow them. It's not that everybody can do that. See, the last one, politics without principle is the biggest blunder. And you know what is happening. What was being happening for the last 70 years. It is not just few years, it is happening. Because people forget, only talk about 6 years. Were they not present 60 years back? Or their elders were not present? What was happening? In the name of Mahatma Gandhi, everybody was taking advantage of it. At least now, the young crowd should understand what Bharat needs, what India needs, because the young crowd is 65% and they are the future of our country. Because see, one instant I'll tell you the topi, Gandhi topi, where the politicians wear and call it as a Gandhi topi. I have hardly seen any of the photographs once or twice where Gandhiji wearing that topi. But in his name, these other people have started doing it. So let us not follow the one which is not being taught. Let us follow what is being taught, which is good for the humanity. And the highest respect for Mahatma Gandhi ji is for promoting the khadi, that is a dresses or anything made out of cotton, khadi, because that is the main growth of Indian farmers. Of course, now it has become a multinational industry, but the main thing is India lies in the cotton. See, he might have thought, how many of you are wearing cotton or khadi? It is so soft to your body. If it's in a hot summer, it absorbs your sweat. And if it is in the cold season, it generates heat, protects you from the cold. You wear it, you will understand. So promote all the village industries. Gramodyog, Grama Udyog ka jo Gandhi ji ne harikar kiya tha, he hailed, respected them. Simple living, and the main thing is Swachh Bharat. So you have seen the result of what Swachh Bharat is. Even though we were the Sone ki Chidiya, thousands of years back, we were the true scientists with sacrifice. The science and spirituality were together one. The culture was so pure and devotional. The food habits were so that no wastage of food is there and everyone should get their meal. And the present situation, at that time, Gandhiji had stressed on the pure drinking water, lifeline. Water is a lifeline. Even though it was wasted without the knowledge of what water is. Now the population has increased, the need for this pure drinking water is more. That's why our Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, has given a message on this day to conserve water in the places where our women folk, mataएं, किलोमीटर तक, 2-2, 3-3, 10-10 किलोमीटर तक कुएं ढूंढ के जाके उधर पीने के लिए पानी लाते हैं. So that should be stopped and they should get pure drinking water wherever they are, whichever village, the Anganwadi, the schools. Because water is going to become a huge embarrassment in future. There may happen wars for this water. So we have to conserve water. Water doesn't mean that heavy rain comes and it floods. Yes, it floods and goes off to the ground. What is a usable water for us, which is been off and on, always Mahatma Gandhi kept on forcing whoever was at the helm of the affairs. So we should follow these things: simple, pure life, swachhata, pure drinking water, and live truthfully. Finally, I end up my words with the Vishwaguru Lord Basaveshwara from Karnataka said, work is worship. Tat puja karmacha khilam. In Kannada we call Kayakave Kailasa. So your work tells what you are. So reinvent yourself, what you are in this webinar. And we have clearly told reinventing Gandhi and his thoughts in contemporary India. Of course, when India comes, abroad will follow us. So I hope all of you will take the gist and importance of whatever is being discussed. I am really happy the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan from Ministry of Education and CACS with our Department of Humanities and Social Science organizing this webinar. Good luck. Jai Bharat, Vande Mataram.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with this comprehensive term of non-violence. And rightly, you mentioned our glorious past, which reminds me 4 lines of a famous Hindi poet, where he says, "Bharat samunnati kar raha tha, gyan mein vigyan mein, कहना न होगा ब्रह्म को भी पा लिया था ध्यान में, जिसको न जग था जानता वह ब्रह्म बस आराध्य था, जो था असाध्य नितांत भारत के लिए वह साध्य था." So with this glorious past, definitely we are going to preserve our identity and we are going to carve out a bright future. Meanwhile, let me also welcome Professor Sudhir Kumar Karla, former director, Swami Keshwanand Institute of Technology. He is also there with us. Welcome, sir, in this webinar. And we all have eagerly been waiting to listen to Professor Avdesh Kumar. So thank you so much, sir, for obliging us with your presence. And we will just love to listen to you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome. Professor Uday Kumar, the Director, MNIT, the Dean, the panelists, the experts, the faculty member, and dear students. I feel honored to be there amongst you, and that too at this particular time when we are celebrating the culmination of 150th birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. And now this is also the birthday of his follower, the Lal Bahadur Shastri. In fact, he is one person who was not only the second Prime Minister of India, but also a true Gandhian in the sense that he practiced whatever was said by Gandhiji in toto. So my tributes to both Mahatma Gandhi as well as to Lal Bahadur Shastri. Today's topic is very, very contemporary. I think this is very, very relevant because it is very difficult to understand Gandhi. In fact, within the youngsters, lot many questions are being asked that there was a time when the simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, now these were relevant earlier in his time when the education was not to that level in India. But today the scenario has changed. The IT, everybody has so informative that it will be very difficult to digest the ideas given by Mahatma Gandhi. So let us flow. Now let us see that whether Gandhi is relevant or Gandhi is not relevant for the youngsters and for all of us. Now to me, how Gandhi appealed. In fact, initially, I didn't like Gandhi, to be very honest. Till 1972, I was just against Gandhi because at that time I was thinking that the solutions of the problem which are prevailing in the country cannot be sorted out through the means of non-violence. But a friend of mine, and he was also a teacher in a sense, at IIT Delhi, he gave me a small book, Log Ganga Ke Tat Se. That was written by Dhiren Mazumdar, and he happens to be of the background what I had at that time. It was a very small book, and it was written just by a person who was communist in nature earlier, but migrated to the Gandhian thoughts. It appealed me a lot. I mean, that was a turning point in my life that I came and I started appreciating the Gandhi's thoughts. As Gandhi changed in 1893, when he was pushed out of the first class compartment at South Africa, and so that was a turning point for Gandhi, that a very meek, very simple, a very mediocre, a person who belonged to a very middle class merchant family, he could become the Mahatma, the activist, the philosopher, the thinker. So that was the turning point in the life of Mahatma Gandhi as I see it. The another point is that Mahatma Gandhi, though he was a very simple and from very small place, but he touched 3 continents in the world. Asia being India, Europe through England, and Africa through South Africa. In that way, the Gandhi is a personality, very, very simple, but then he influenced all the 3 continents in his own way. Will come slowly and slowly that what are the effects of Gandhi in all the 3 continents and how the change took place and how it is relevant now also. It was a personality that the Einstein has said that the generation to come will not believe that such a person was ever there on the land, on the earth with the flesh. I mean, exactly, this is not the quotation, but that was the whole idea. That the Einstein, who was hanging the portrait of 2 scientists, Isaac Newton and James Maxwell, and they were the inspirational for him. But later on, when he started the Gandhian understanding, then he removed them. So that was the influence of Mahatma Gandhi, not only in India, but abroad also. I look at Gandhi from 4 perspectives. The one is Gandhi as a philosopher. The second is Gandhi as a thinker. The third, Gandhi as he is in history. And the fourth, and the very important, is Gandhi as an activist, the political as well as social. Now, as far as the first part, the Gandhi as a history is concerned, everybody is quite aware. I need not to go into the detail of it. I'll just touch upon some of the points. When he went to the UK for his study to become a barrister, he was very, very simple. He was very mediocre. He was not interacting with anybody at all. So that's why his social contacts were hardly anything. He came back to India for practice. He couldn't succeed. Fortunately, he could get one party, Abdullah, who asked him, can you represent my case in the South Africa? So there was a small background. And with that intention, although he was not capable to represent his case, in fact, he went over there to assist his advocates who were representing his case in South Africa. With that intention, he left India. He reached Durban. He was traveling, as very rightly said by Professor Uday Kumar. He was traveling from Durban to Pretoria in 1893, exactly May 1893. On the way, Pietermaritzburg, the station, he was pushed out of the first class compartment. So he started thinking, there are two options. Whatever has been done with me, it is very, very common with all Indians and Africans. So there is nothing particular about it. He could have forgotten about that. When he was sitting on the platform for the whole night, and that was a very chilly night, he started thinking what to do about it. Had I been in his place, I could have said that just ignore it. So many people are there, they are suffering. What I have to do about it, and what can I do? I am a single person. What can I do? That is the inspiration. I mean, he decided there, no, whatever it may be, injustice is being done with the blacks, with the Indians, with the Africans. So I cannot keep quiet. He went to Pretoria. In his own way, he started mobilizing the people, but he decided that whatever harm is being done to me personally, I will not take any action with the help of the law. I think that is the non-violence of Mahatma Gandhi. The non-violence started from there when he started. Otherwise, as a common man, there was one instance. In Pretoria, he was just walking on the path. The police wala came over there. He hit him from the back. There was a magistrate who was walking. He saw him. He asked Gandhi that I am the witness. I have seen that whatever this policeman has done, it is very, very unjust. It should not have been there. So in case you approach me, you have a case in this one, then I'll punish him. Then he said, no, I will not take it. I think that is the beginning of non-violence, what he practiced. So the immediate need for all of us, whatever Gandhi has said, first of all, he practiced. In fact, very unfortunate part is that we don't practice, but we preach. So that paradigm shift, Gandhi has said, I love it. The two principles of Gandhi, first of all, is truth. It's a beautiful thing. The truth is there in the scriptures. In the Hindu scripture, we say, Ishwar Satya hai, Ram Naam Satya hai. Very simple. All of us are aware. But then the fallacy is, only Ishwar could be Satya. We cannot be. Nobody can imagine that we can practice Satya in our life because Ishwar is Satya. Ram Naam is Satya. Ram is Satya, not I. So when Gandhi could see that how to practice it, so he just reversed it. He said, truth is God. You practice truthfulness, you become the God. I think it was a paradigm shift. The very concept that truth is God, it has become very, very easy for everybody to practice in life. So this is one of the moment I could see that it's a revolutionary idea given by, although it is very, very simple. But then initially, although for centuries together, it was there in the scriptures, but Gandhi made it very, very pragmatic and very easy for everybody to follow. So when he went over there, then he started practicing the non-violence. In fact, that station, railway station, is now internationally known as the birthplace of Satyagraha. While this incident took place in 1893, in fact, Gandhi took up the first Satyagraha in Johannesburg in 2006. So the birth took place in 1893 itself, which of course came to the masses after about 9 years or more than that. The second aspect of Gandhi was that he was the best communicator. Somebody asked me in Japan during my stay over there, he said, how do you look at Gandhi and what is the specialty according to you about the Gandhi that he could become the Mahatma in a country like India? I said, he has many, many qualities. He is great. But in case you are asking me a single word for him, I will say communicator. He used the word in his prayers, in the evening prayers, Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram, Patit Pavan Sita Ram. So that was the line in the Ramcharitmanas. He modified it. Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram, Patit Pavan Sita Ram, Ishwar Allah Tere Naam, Sabko Sammati De Bhagwan. So in that way, his modification, his mentality, because he wanted to make a homogeneity in a pluralistic society of India, he valued the various religions. And for Gandhi, the nationalism was not that of the Europe, because in the case of the Europe, the nationalism or a nation has been defined by three things. One is language. The second is the religion. The third is the enemy. Any country in the Europe, take it UK, France, or whatnot, they have all the three things. Gandhi said, no. In a country like India, we cannot afford to define a nation like that. It cannot be a single language. So that's why right before independence, the Gandhi has said that as soon as India would become independent, we will have linguistic states, the states formed out of the major language in that particular geographical location. Secondly, about the religion, he said, no, it cannot be a single religion in India. So let us respect all the religions, whatever is there. And so all are equally respectful for all the Indians. An enemy, he said that as far as we are concerned, there is no enemy. That is a revolution. Idea which of course never came to the mind of anybody. The Gandhi gave that particular thing to the Indians. The another aspect, Gandhi is coming back to India as soon as the Second World War started in 1914. He ultimately was to come to India because he was for the independence of India and also to create the society which is homogeneous and which is free from the exploitation. So ultimately he was to come. In 1914, when he decided to come back to India, he was asked by Tilak, why don't you go to UK and then convince them, the UK people or the Indians who are there. Gandhi just see his revolutionary idea. At that time in 1914, he was convincing Indians in UK to join the forces to serve the Britishers. The Gandhi who said in 1942 Quit India movement, in 1914, he asked Indians and his followers to help Britishers in the difficult time of Second World War. So Gandhi, in that way, he's very, very dynamic. This is what he has said, that in case whenever you find the difference in my statements or in my working or in my actions, the latest one you follow. In that way, I could see that Gandhi is not very traditional. He is very, very dynamic. And so that's why, depending upon his understanding, depending upon the circumstances, depending upon the needs, he changed his views. He was not very orthodox, although initially the family, his background and so on, he was very orthodox, but not in his actions. He came 1915. He was established leader of South Africa, but he didn't have that sort of ego. He said that first of all, I should roam around the whole country. Let me find out that what is the political, the economical, and the social condition. Let me acquaint, and then only I will make up my mind. He went around the whole country. He took the note of it. He started, when the first agitation was there, of course, in the cotton mill, and followed by the Chora Chori in Bihar. The movement was there at the peak. I can never see this example in the history, anywhere in the world. It was just at the peak, but then Gandhi announced that I am taking back my agitation. You can understand that it requires a lot of guts. It requires a lot of convictions. It requires a lot of your self-confidence, that at the peak of it, the Gandhi has said that I am for non-violence. How my followers or the agitators, they burnt a police station and also a policeman. I think that is a lesson which of course everybody has to follow, that look, you will be effective only when, you will be successful only when you are firm to your conviction. First of all, decide about the conviction and live with it. To me, he looks to be a Karma Yogi of Gita. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phal hetu marte sangostva karmani. I think he was a Karma Yogi in the real sense. In that way, a small part, this is how I look at it, the Gandhi, from the history point. Now from the philosophy. Although he was not a philosopher in the true sense, as we understand in the academics, but the way he put up the things, it was more than what a philosopher can talk about, because he was practicing what he was telling about. First is truth. This is what already I touched upon a bit. It is not only the truth of the words. He said that more than a word, it is the action. But Gandhi further goes. He says, word, action, but thoughts. He said that in case you are acting, but your thoughts are otherwise, then it will not be truthful. You are not truthful, you are cheating yourself. Karmana api bodhavyam cha vikarmana. Akarmanascha bodhavyam gehano karmano gati. This is what he has said. It is a very, very famous couplet shloka of Bhagavad Gita. So this is what he has said, that unless you are in the thoughts, you are truthful in your thoughts, the truth has no meaning. And so that's why he said, and Gandhi, in spite of it, he used to say that my truth is not absolute. I am trying to visualize, but then ultimately the truth is in your life. You have to live with it. Then only the truth will have certain meaning. The second he gave about the non-violence. The non-violence is not the absence of violence. This is what the Gandhi has said. absence of violence is not non-violence. He said that in case you are thinking negative about somebody, you are violent. Secondly, the violence, the non-violence is not about, as Professor Uday Kumar has very rightly said, that it has been in our scriptures for thousands of years. Jainism, ahimsa paramo dharma. Patanjali, Bhagavad Gita, ahimsa satyam krodha. This is what the scripture talks about it. But Gandhi's non-violence is different from that one. There was one instance, there was a calf. He was suffering. He was attended by a veterinary surgeon, but then there was no relief. It was very, very painful for him. The Gandhi was constantly monitoring. When he could see that his life is very, very painful, he thought what to do about it. He discussed with the followers in the ashram. Then everybody said that now it's a non-violence, so we cannot do anything at all. So ultimately, whatever prarabdh hai, wo use bhugatna hi padega. This is what they have said. Gandhi negated. He said no. He is suffering. So ultimately, my duty is that he should die. He called for a doctor. He was standing over there. In spite of all the differences, Gandhi said that the true non-violence will come when you are sensitive to the suffering of somebody else. It is not the orthodox type of non-violence. Non-violence. So in that way, the Gandhi has modified, although the truth and the non-violence, they were there since ages, but then he made it very, very pragmatic. So in that way, the Gandhi became relevant from the non-violence point of view. Now it is said, a survey has been made by Smith, and he took the data from 1900 to 2006. All the violent agitations which had taken place in the world during these 106 years. So there were 323 plus violent agitation throughout the world during this 106 years. His research showed that in more than 50%, exactly 52% cases, the agitation, when it became non-violent, the non-violent agitation became successful, while the percentage for the violent one is only 25%. And it shows that 30 to 40% of the nations which had those agitations, they became independent. So our notion, particularly the notion among the youth, that non-violence is not the solution of the problem, although it looks that violence will give a solution very, very quickly, but this is not so. Our experience also shows that whenever there is a difference of opinion, whether it is on the individual level, on the social level, at the political level, or between two countries, they have to sit across the table, whatever it may be, and the solution will come out of it. So violence is not a solution. So that's why I think that non-violence of Gandhi is relevant today more than what it had been in the past. Now, because I'm running short of time, so I will just quickly touch upon the another points also. I think my time is up to 12:30, so I'll just quickly go through the other two aspects. Now, Gandhi as a thinker, as he was not a philosopher, as an academician, likewise, he is not a thinker in the true academic sense. But Gandhi's ideas, forgiveness. A beautiful idea. Although we also say, and Jainism is very, very particular about it, they celebrate for the whole week. But Gandhi's forgiveness, that's what he says, that it's not only by word, it has to be in a true sense. You have to respect the differences in opinion with somebody else. As you are respecting yourself, likewise, you have to respect the ideas of the other person. Tolerance. Unfortunately, this is what we look at it. And the present time, lot of intolerance is there. At the individual level, at the social level, at the political level, at the national level, at the international level. Gandhi said, no. In case you have to survive, you have to sustain, then the tolerance is the only solution, nothing else. And he has given, there are many, many examples, this is what he has said. So in that way, the Gandhi, whatever he is talking about, he is talking from the core of his heart and is practicing. Morality, which of course is very, very scare item these days. He talks about the morality. That unless a morality is there, neither you will survive nor the society. Equality. He says that everybody is born in the same way, everybody dies in the same way, the change takes place only in between. So what is inequality? Whatever nature, God, or you may call it, Prakriti or Purush, this is what the Gita says, that everybody is a combination of Prakriti and Purush, your consciousness. So he says the difference comes only in between. How can it be? The God has created you. You have to go to him. So how can you be unequal? By way of race, by way of origin, by way of religion, by economy condition, or whatever is there. So he said that everybody, you start treating them equal, then you will have lot of peace of mind, lot of homogeneity. You will not be disturbed mentally. The progress will take place. In that way, there are many, many aspects. I have touched upon only 3, 4. I think in that way, the Gandhi becomes a thinker in the real sense. The 4th point is activist. We all are aware that he was a political activist. So that's why the freedom, Dilwadi Azadi, Bina Kharag Bina Dhal, Sabarmati ke Sant tune kar diya kamal. So of course everybody is aware about it. See the sensitivity of Gandhi in the political arena. He came to India. He established Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. He could see the salt is a very bare need of every household, and it was controlled by the Britishers, the manufacturing as well as the marketing. Gandhi decided, how can it be? It is a big source of exploitation. He started a march from Sabarmati Ashram to a 400-kilometer away place, Dandi, a very small village, a coastal village in Bihar, in Gujarat, called Dandi, in Navsari district as of now. So that 400 kilometer, he marched on foot, he reached over there, he broke the law, he made the salt, and he was imprisoned. That is the political activity, not for the gain of votes, but for the cause of the humankind, of the fellow Indians, of the whole society. So that is the political activism of Mahatma Gandhi. The another march he took it up, as I recollected, although there are many. I think it is beautifully written by his secretary, Durga Das. There are 2 volumes. I wish these are huge volumes of about 750 pages each, but beautifully he has described in both the volumes, Mahatma, the last phase by Durga Das. Now he says in 1946, before independence, there were a lot of disturbance in Naukhali, a place in Bengal, erstwhile Bengal, and now of course the Bangladesh. In the Chittagong division, Hindus were massacred. They were fleeing from that place. The dignity of the Hindu woman was being compromised. Gandhi was there in Delhi. He decided, he said that I'll go at my own. And then I'll live and die with them. He went to Naukhali. He spent 4 months over there. He roamed around all the villages. He asked Hindus and Muslims to join together. And now because the Gandhi's honesty was there, it gave the dividends. So the Gandhi, otherwise anybody could have said that, okay, already British are there, they will take care of it. No. Gandhi said that now, because they are in hardship, let me also feel it. Let me be there with them. In case they are dying, I'll also die. So that is the political activism of Mahatma Gandhi, which is entirely different. This is what we notice today. Although there are agitations now also, but for a different cause. In that way, this is the political activism of Gandhi as I see it from that angle. From the social perspective, Gandhi was at a peak. When 1930 he took up the Dandi March, he was imprisoned. He came out of the prison in 1932. He could have very well joined the political arena. Society. Now just imagine that a Gandhi who is very, very orthodox Hindu, in spite of it, he said, no, untouchability is a black spot on the forehead of Hindus, which of course nobody can afford. So that's why the third march was taken by Gandhi to eradicate the untouchability from the Indian society. So this third movement was a social movement. He spent 4 years. He traveled 20,000 kilometers all across the country. He formed the Harijan. Harijan, of course, it is a word coined by him for the downtrodden, untouchable society, which of course nowadays Harijan is also taken as a bad word. The Gandhi has said that you are not untouchable, but you are the son of God. Harijan. In that way, Gandhi, who was at the peak in the political arena, he spent 4 years just for the social cause. So this is the another aspect of Gandhi as I could see from the social activist point of view. There are many aspects over there, but I think now because my time is going to be complete now. So lastly, I will say that Gandhi is great. There are other great people also who were the great in their own fields. The engineers are there, the technocrats are there, the doctors are there, the scientists are there, the humanists are there. They are great, but Gandhi was unique. To say that Gandhi was great, I think it's not enough. Gandhi was Gandhi. And Gandhism is nothing as Gita is a scripture to be imbibed in life, like as Gandhi is a fellow who is to be imbibed in life. It is not the Gandhism. The moment we call it Gandhism, we destroy him. Because then it becomes a piece of worship. And the moment something becomes a piece of worship, then the whole soul of that particular aspect, it goes off. In fact, now my time is over. I'm very grateful to MNIT, to Professor Manju Gupta, Manju Singh, and to other authorities of the MNIT that you have given me a chance and opportunity to interact on such a, marvelous, a beautiful topic, which is very dear to my, I wanted to share some of my experiences, but because the time is not there, so that's why I'm closing this one. Some other time, I'll take my personal experiences. That part I have noticed, although I born after more than a year of Gandhi's assassination, but my time with Vinoba Bhave was superb. The life of Jayaprakash Narayan was a bit different, but then I enjoyed more as Vinoba Bhave rather than as Jayaprakash Narayan. I'll take it up sometimes later on. Okay. Thank you very much. You are welcome in case there is any question. Don't expect the reply from me. I will just, I'll just share with you because I'm not an authority, but you are welcome. Please raise your question. That was my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for sparing time for this webinar. And now the stage is all set for steaming questions. So we have certain questions in the chat box, and I'll just read them, sir, for you. There is a question from Neha. She has asked why Gandhi did not support B.R. Ambedkar.
No, there is a fallacy. The Gandhi and Ambedkar both were fighting for the same cause. Gandhi was also for eradication of untouchability and upliftment of marginal section of society, and Ambedkar also. Ambedkar has a lot of contribution, particularly from this aspect. But then the line was different. The approach was different. The goal was the same. The Gandhi has said that it is not the goal which is important. Your means are very, very important. For example, in the case of Ambedkar, when he asked for reservation of constituencies on the basis of the backward population, then Gandhi opposed it. I said already the society is fragmented. In case, why do you try to fragment it further? He said that untouchable is a curse. We should eliminate it, but then the means should also be the same. So I used to see it from that angle that ultimately the goal of both Gandhi as well as Ambedkar was the same, but then the means were different to achieve the same goal. That's my answer.
Thank you so much, sir, for your response. Next question is from Manju ma'am, who has asked how to sensitize young minds about Gandhian philosophy in present circumstance.
I think whatever Gandhi has said, it can very easily be. For example, I'll give you now two questions are being asked. That truthfulness is applicable, it cannot be applicable in business. It is a sort of, normally, this sort of complaint is being raised that truthful, Gandhi was European, he could do it, but now we are running the business. It is not possible to be 100% truthful. I very humbly, I disagree with that one. Gandhi was a lawyer. He practiced in South Africa, and he was a very, very successful advocate later on in South Africa. And so he has said that in case there is any untruthfulness in your case, don't come to me, you will lose it. Secondly, from the present perspective, I used to say, and I used to look at it, that the credibility is very, very important. Now in our ACR, I do not know whether it is there in your institution or not. In our government, as long as I was there with the government of India, there was yearly assessment, and the very first column was the integrity. The moment you write integrity, some remarks over there, you are gone, you are finished. So the credibility is very, very important for anybody, for everybody. Credibility will come only when you are truthful. Once the credibility has gone, we are nowhere. Because ultimately, first of all, we are the human being, then only something else. I think the crisis of credibility in the country has created a lot of problems. We know that political figures, they are fighting day out and day in. Now, because we are doubting their credibility, so that's why it doesn't have the impact. So whatever Gandhi has said about the truthfulness, I think is still, it is relevant. It will remain relevant in future as well, because no society can afford. We can be untruthful, but we do not expect somebody else. Unfortunately, what happens, we expect others to be pure and honest, but we can afford to be dishonest and impure. In that way, to me, as I look at it, that the truthfulness is and will remain relevant, and that is the only thing which can give our credibility.
Thank you so much, sir. Next question comes from Astitwa Sharma, who has asked how Gandhi would have reacted to the recent three farmers bill and how they were passed in Rajya Sabha.
Actually, it is difficult for me to answer this question because Gandhi is not there and I'm not Gandhi. But as had I been in his place, I could have said that the farmers are being exploited by the middleman. See the vegetables we are purchasing from the shop, the producer is not getting even 25% of what we are purchasing from the market. In that way, a good amount is going in the pocket of the middleman. So this particular act, it is eliminating the middleman in between. So what happened, the Gandhian way is that we have to reconcile. Ultimately, it has to come. We have to share with them. There will be differences of opinions. It is bound to be there. And ultimately, the solution would be there when we can reconcile. We can just approach them. So that is, I think, otherwise, this act to me, from the Gandhian perspective, it is quite relevant for them. But then, ultimately, somebody has to become a Gandhi and to convince them, because ultimately in the democracy, the process of reconciliation and understanding is very, very important.
Sir, we have the next question from Dr. Nidhi Bansal. She has asked that Gandhi said that our nation will be free in true sense when women will be able to walk on roads at midnight without any fear. But in contemporary society, we are witnessing heinous crimes against women. So what is the solution as per Gandhian philosophy?
Actually, unfortunately, your voice is very, very low. My amplifier, it seems my amplifier is not working. So can you just...
Sure. I'll repeat, sir, the question.
Please.
Yes, sir. Sir, heinous crimes are getting committed against women in India. So what is the solution from Gandhian ideology?
From Gandhian idea, which, what is the problem?
Crimes are getting committed against women.
No, I'm
the crimes are committed against women.
Oh, okay.
What is Gandhian idea?
These crimes were there at that time also. So it is not that the society was free from these crimes. Although now there are two aspects of it. The crime has, the quantity of crimes have increased, one thing. Secondly, because the media is there, so information is spreading very, very fast. This is very, very unfortunate. It will happen. Now, I look at it from two angles. One is from the social angle. So the social angle is that now, because there is a division in society, we have the tendency to rule over somebody else, So that's, and particularly in the villages and the small towns, this sort of feeling is there. अरे ये तो छोटी जात का है, इसका मैं दिखाऊंगा कि ये क्या है. This sort of tendency is there in the mindset. The second is that the youth, the value, I think our education plays a very, very important role in this particular aspect. All the time we have been focusing on passing on the information to the youth mind. We have forgotten about the values in life. So that's why the youth, he is not, either he is not aware or he is not caring about the character, about the morality, about the ethics. So that's why he becomes so, first of all, arrogant, and secondly, his understanding is so poor. So that's why the crimes is increasing day by day. The Gandhis' thing would be, first of all, to take the people along, to educate them, to sensitize them, and to see that the unemployment which is there within the country and the youth is roaming here and there. So in that way, socially, politically, economically, this problem has to be sorted out, and then the understanding has to be there. The youth has to be given a village. I think the education has a very important role to play. And now in the new education policy, this is what they are talking about, the value-based education. I think that will make a change. That's my reaction.
Thank you so much, sir. Next question is again from Astitva, who has asked, though this is an imaginary question, how Gandhiji would have contributed further to the world if he would have lived his entire life.
Which has?
If he had lived his entire life, if he had not been shot by Nathuram Godse.
Which has, can you just repeat it?
If he has lived his full life, how Gandhi would have been contributing to the society?
How Gandhi would have been contributing to the society?
If he would not have been assassinated.
Oh. The Gandhis, I think that was a very, very critical juncture when Gandhi was assassinated. That was the formative year of the country. Gandhi had a lot of influence politically and socially. I think that Gandhian philosophy, it was forgotten after his assassination in the independent India. So that's why the Gandhi took a back seat and the socialism came in the real front. So that's why had the Gandhi been there, there would have been a different India. Had there been Sardar Patel as the Prime Minister, the shape of India, of course, from that angle, anybody. But I think that the Gandhi's philosophy has been forgotten after his assassination, and all his policies, particularly economic policies, it has taken a backseat.
Yes, sir. Kunal poses another question, sir, and that is, how is contribution of Gandhi different from freedom fighters from Garam Dal in India's independence?
Can I just, no, because...
I'll just repeat the question, sir. How is contribution, am I audible, sir?
Now I'm audible.
How is Kunal poses another question, and that is, how contribution of Gandhi different from freedom fighters of Garam Dal in Indian independence movement?
Oh, Gandhi was totally different. The Gandhi, I mean, just imagine that in case the Gandhi was not there in the scene, what could have been done? It is a fact that India was to be liberated. It was sure. Because the conditions of Second World War, it was already compelling on the UK to come out of India. But then the ways were different. For example, most of the conflicts took place due to the partition of India. Whatever massacre was there, it was due to the division within the division between India and Pakistan. Had Gandhi not been there, India would have been free for sure, maybe sooner or later, maybe after a few years or whatever is there. But the main contribution of India, or main contribution of Gandhi in the independence of India was at least a sort of that he could create a harmony within various groups, and it marginalized only to a certain extent. Had there been not Gandhi in the face, the violent activities would have led it to the independence of India. And the price could have been very, very high. But India was to be independent sooner or later, even in the absence of Gandhi. This is what my answer is.
Okay, sir. Sir, next question comes from Shantanu, who has asked why Mahatma Gandhi did not choose to opt for an administrative position like Prime Minister or President.
It cannot be. It cannot be. It is not possible. What happens? Gandhi was Gandhi. Gandhi had certain role. There is a difference between a bureaucrat and a politician. The government is different from that of a bureaucrat. You make a bureaucrat as a leader and vice versa, it will collapse. These are two very highly specialized fields. And then as far as the Gandhi was concerned, he was not at all for it. He was not at all for it. And had he become the Prime Minister or the President of the country, I think the whole concept of Gandhism could have gone. Gandhi is Gandhi only because he was serving to the masses. He was talking the language of the masses, which of course was not possible had he been there in the ham of the affairs after the independence. Jayaprakash Ji, he never accepted. He said, no, we are to serve the nation, and the service will come when we are among the public. Then only we can serve it. We cannot dictate. One is the dictation, the other is service. I think Gandhi was quite misfit. And Gandhi would not have been Gandhi had he become the Prime Minister or the President of free, independent India.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, next question is from my side, and that is that nowadays tolerance is considered akin to cowardice. So what is your perception about it? Nowadays, if you keep tolerating, then people consider it as cowardice.
Gandhi has said once, Gandhi, there was incidents. There was a violent assault on Gandhi in South Africa, in Pretoria. He was saved by his white friend. In the evening, when his elder son, Harilal, who became the fierce opponent of Gandhi later on, he asked his father, had I been there on the scene, according to you, what should have been my role? Gandhi's reply, beautiful. He has said, Harilal, in case the very first idea in your mind is not for the non-violence, you should have hit him. So Gandhi's concept of non-violence was not a cowardice act. He said that this is for the strong person, and in case you are covered, become violent, that is better. Likewise, for tolerance also, he has said that in case you are elevated mentally, then only be tolerant. In case you are covered, then intolerance is better than to be tolerant, because this is the dishonesty. This is what he has said.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, last question, and that is about like one of the anecdote where you said that the cow was suffering and Mahatma Gandhi relieved her of her pain. So do you mean to say that Gandhi supported euthanasia? Is it justified?
No, this is not from that. I mean, somebody asked him that had he been a human being, how will they treat him? He said these are two different. This was very categorically, at that particular instance only, Gandhi has said that now he is an animal. He cannot speak. He cannot take his own action. So that's why I cannot see him suffer. But had he been a human being, then the prerogatives, the alternatives were available. So that's why he said, no, it's not for that. That's what it is. This is what the Gandhi has said at that particular instant itself.
I believe, sir, thank you so much. We are done with all questions. Thank you so much for sorting them in such a logical and convincing manner. And undoubtedly, with Mahatma Gandhi, I'm reminded of few lines from Maithili Sharan Gop, where he says, "Koi na yo sumrityu to vratha mare vratha jiye, mara nahi wahi ki jo jiyan aap ke liye, yahi pashu pravarti hai कि आप ही चरें, वही मनुष्य है कि जो मनुष्य के लिए मरे." So Gandhi undoubtedly led this and preached this and walked his own talk. So undoubtedly, sir, again, very thankful to you, highly gratitude for you for sparing your time and delivering this wonderful talk. Now moving on to the next thing, and that is undoubtedly every good thing comes to a close. So here I would like to request Dr. Mushtaq Ahmed, Coordinator Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam, for giving me this opportunity. So before making this vote of thanks, I would like to speak one poem, the part of that poem from the Ram Naresh Tripathi, at मनमोहिनी प्रकृति की जो गोद में बसा है, सुख स्वर्ग सा जहाँ है वह देश कौन सा है, जिसके चरण निरंतर रत्नेश धो रहा है वह देश कौन सा है. So the good importance and the features of that our peaceful country that has been highlighted by this poems that can be truly achieved by incorporating the guidelines and the characteristics of the Mahatma Gandhi for this country. So in this, as I have gone through the expert lectures, I have seen that having a faith in the God and the righteous things that the person need to do, and he requires to make a stickness on the righteousness and keep patience and self-restraint, that will lead to the non-violence country, and of course that will also make the society together with the untouchability, which is the most important part, which now most of the part in India that has been dedicated, but in the villages there are the certain incidents that occurs. So I think that the values of the Gandhian, that if it has been incorporated in our human lives, that will make our life better, and the goodness in the society with the good humanity and development and the work for the betterment in the society as well as in the villages. So I would like to thank Professor Uday Kumar Yaragatti for being the chief guest of the program, Renewing Gandhi and its thoughts in the contemporary India and abroad. Sir, your valuable inputs are very much inspiring and shall help us in order to incorporate the moral and ethical values of the Gandhian thoughts. I would like to thank our keynote speaker, Professor Avdesh Kumar, who is an eminent physicist, economist, and the motivational speaker. Thank you, sir, for propagating Gandhian thoughts in India and abroad. I think that this is the right time in this contemporary period. The Gandhian thought, as you mentioned, would be very useful for our self-restraint and for the betterment of the society. I would like to thank our Dean, Professor Tarush Chandar, and Professor of Humanity, Dr. Professor Manju Singh, the head of the Humanity Department, for their continuous support for organizing this webinar. I would like to thank our faculty coordinators of this program, Dr. Nidhi Bansal, Nidhi Sharma, Dr. Nirja Saraswat, Dr. Rajendra Kumar Duchania, who are also our coordinator in the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan and actively participating in conducting various social and educational activity in the adopted villages. Not last but the least, I would like to thank all the participants, faculty and staff who are attending this program online or offline for participating this and sharing their thoughts. Thank you once again, all.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just one last request to everyone. We would request our participants to please turn on their video so that a group photograph can be clicked. May I request Ms. Surbhi Sethi to assist us in this process?
Yes, ma'am.
Vikas, can we zoom little bit? NKN camera, usko zoom in kar de. Yes, better. Yeah, better. Please mute your mic. Yes, Surbhi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Just say please. I think all are there, Surbhi. Yes, Surbhi.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Nidja, now you can convey any message if you wish to regarding the certificate.
So, Kaju.
Feedback. Thank you, sir. It was really nice.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was really nice. Should be any instruction for the attendees? Hello. Otherwise, we'll send the message to all, right? Okay. Now we will. Namaste, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. And
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your participation. We are really
Thank you.
happy that all of
Thank
you
you, ma'am.
throughout the time and you like to cooperate with us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wonderful experience. Yeah.
Thank you, this sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.